Alright, I've got my 2012 Chevy Cruze here. This is the Eco model, and we're going to be replacing the fuel pump in this. Now, you could have your fuel pump could go out. You could have a problem with the fuel pressure regulator. Either one of those scenarios. There's other things you can check to kind of determine, with a fuel pressure tester, etc. One of the things, a quick note, you want to make sure what size gas tank that you have when you go in to get your fuel pump, because it's important if you've got the 16 gallon versus the 13 gallon or whatever, because there is a little bit of a difference there and one won't fit the other. So anyways, let me show you what I've got here. Okay, so here's the fuel pump that I've got, the replacement. I got this off of eBay. It has like 25,000 miles on this particular fuel pump, so it should be in good shape. Now, I've used a lot of used parts, and I've had good success with them. Like I said, they have a money-back guarantee, so if this doesn't work, I'm going to get my money back. This was only $35 plus tax and everything. So if you go to the parts store, you're looking, I think, at least $300 for a replacement fuel pump. So big savings, if you don't mind using a used part. And I've used a lot of used parts with good success. And in a lot of cases, the OEM is going to outperform a lot of the aftermarkets anyways, unless you get a really good brand, good quality. So anyways, this is a look at the pump. And like I said, it has your float for your fuel level. It's got your regulator. It's got everything you need on here, complete assembly. These are the old connectors. There should be like a clip here that we'll have to remove, I believe, or it may be one of those push down. Actually, I think it's one of those push down, but I can show you on this how to disconnect your connectors. And got a couple connectors going in here. Another one of these locks where you have to bend it and get it to come off there. So very handy that they have the old connectors on there, so I know exactly how those are going to come off. So this is a look at it. And so we're going to be having to drop this fuel tank, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, before you get going, take the time to make sure you got your wheels completely chalked so this thing can't be rolling front or back. And I've just went ahead and did both sides so I can make sure it's not going to be rolling, and so we can be safe here. So we're going to go ahead and get a jack under the middle here and see if we can't get this lifted up. Okay, now we're on this little cross brace you see under here, and we're just going to carefully lift it up a little at a time, and we're going to try to get, I'm going to put my ramps probably under the rear here, and if we need to, we will lift up the front as well, but I'm hoping that we can just simply get it lifted up back here. Okay, now I'm also placing some jack stands under here on both sides, as well as going with the ramps here under the tire. Now, if your jack doesn't go high enough, you'll have to get some more blocks or something, lift it up a little at a time, but we're going to try to at least get it where we can get both of these ramps under the wheels, and we may in fact go a little bit higher with it and actually lift those jack stands up. We're going to leave the ramps though for safety. Okay, just to show you, this is my setup so far. We have basically the ramp, jack stand, and then on this side the same thing. So I can already tell that there's no way that this is going to work without lifting the front. So basically I'm going to go up to the front and do the exact same thing. We're going to put the ramps under the front tires and the jack stands for backup. We just want to make sure that we have a couple of forms of support just for safety. You can use blocks also, but You know, the main thing is we want to make sure that we get it safely supported. So we're going to do the same thing pretty much in the front so we can get the front up a little bit higher. Okay, just to show you what I got. Again, we've ramps, jack stands, and in the front, ramps, and I've got blocks on both sides under this part of the frame. Now this is not up just really high where I've got just a lot of room, but it's enough room under here to get under here and do what I need to do. And when I go to lower this, I'm not going to have to lower it down so far, so it's not going to be that hard. Bad thing about this, I've got a half tank of gas. Now with this having the approximately 16 gallons, you know, I've got at least 7-8 gallons of gas in here, which, you know, around 60 pounds, you know, whatever the weight of the tank is, which ain't much. Now the problem is they make them where you can't usually just pump the gas out because they got like a protective thing in the tank to keep you from, you know, it being ciphered out, etc. So usually you can't go to pumping it out until you get it dropped enough. But I'm just going to try to drop it down, deal with it, and roll it out of here. Once I get it out, I'm going to go ahead and pump the gas out, so it's going to be easier putting it back in. It's going to be a whole lot harder putting it back in, having that weight, having to lift it up, than it will be dropping it down. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and get under here. We got some protective covers and under shields and stuff to remove, and we're just going to get started there. Okay, before we get started, we're going to go ahead and disconnect this negative cable. We are going to be disconnecting some wiring and everything, and we want to be safe. And go pick yourself up some used cardboard. Said you could use a creeper. I usually never do, because usually I've just got the problem with getting the vehicle up high enough. I don't use a lift or have anything fancy. So cardboard is usually sufficient for me, and it's you can get used cardboard anywhere. We got these little 10mm plastic nuts, first of all, on this piece that's running across through here that attaches to the straps. You can see the straps there. Now, so we're going to get this piece off first. We got about 6 of these little plastic nuts. We're going to go ahead and get this removed first thing. Okay, there's those 6 little plastic nuts, and this will pop off of here. And it's a good idea they use those because, you know, nuts and bolts tend to want to rust out, so it's actually not a very bad idea. So now we can see our bands a little bit better. Now the next thing we're going to have to get on is these holding this shield, protective shield that goes on the bottom here. Now I don't expect that we'll need to remove every bit of it. Maybe we can get enough to kind of bend it down out of the way, but we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and get started on these. You see on this kind of insulated looking piece, you can see how they run down through there. So I'm going to take out what I need to get it out of the way. We may have to remove all of them. Okay, with all those out, just pulled that whole entire flap down there. It wasn't that many. Some of them were kind of bent a little bit, but you can kind of see in here now it's covering up like where the fuel lines, brake lines, and all that stuff go. I guess it just kind of keeps it protected. Don't really know the purpose. There's a lot of vehicles that don't have this on here, so maybe it does help. But anyways, we got that out of the way. We can see some of our connections here going from the tank, so, and our fuel lines and stuff, etc. So we need to see about getting some of this stuff disconnected. Now, one thing about it, you want to make sure you got safety glasses and everything when you're disconnecting this fuel line, in case you got pressure and stuff. Put a rag on it or something. But anyways, you can see this heat shield going around this. But the only other thing that we have at this point, we're gonna start dropping it down in a minute. But I know we've got the filler neck, and we're gonna have these lines connected here. And I'm thinking that we're gonna be able to disconnect these lines here. Probably get a little pan down here to catch some of this, but I think we're going to disconnect it here, and that will take care of that. But as far as the filler tube, I don't know. Let's see. Well, we'll figure it out. Looks like we've got just a band more or less going around it there, but we got a lot of fuel in here too, so we don't want to just take stuff loose like that. We want to be cautious. We'll probably have to take it loose more up here, so I'm going to look at that in just a second and figure out how I want to do that, because I don't want to go to dropping this down until I get that filler neck part figured out. And like I said, I think I'm going to go ahead and disconnect these. I know that this, you just push, usually can just push these through with your fingers. You just kind of squeeze it in there a little bit. If I can get around here, you push that in and just pushes up. May need to get a screwdriver because these are kind of stuck. But anyways, I'm going to get these connectors. There we go. I'm going to get these here loose. So that's all that is. We got a clip right here that we squeeze. Just squeeze that part right there. And so these will be stuck regardless, even once you squeeze that, because it's just been under here with all this dirt and everything, and it's not gonna, I'm probably gonna need to get a pick tool hold of that one. So anyways, we got that safety lock back, and then we just push. We should be able to push down on this and get that loose. So I'm gonna get over here with a pan in case we got some drippage here next. Okay, I just want to explain briefly how I remove these. Now this one here, this black one here, has a blue safety lock that comes down on top. You have to push that up, or you can take it completely off like I did. Now I sprayed it with a little bit of spray lubricant because this was kind of not wanting to move, but essentially you push this thing in that direction, like towards this flare, and then push down on it, and you'll hear it click, and then it'll pop right off. A lot of times you have to push in the direction like you're pushing it on in order to get that to activate sometimes. This connector, you just push down right there. There's no safety lock, at least there's not on this one. This one up here, you just lift up, you pull in on these little red flaps and push that up, and then you're able to pop it off there. So there wasn't much gas came out of this line right here. So we got these loose. I'm going to go ahead and work on this this filler neck up here. See what I'm going to do with that. Okay, I'm back here by this back spring on this passenger side here. Now what I did is I took my 8mm ratchet wrench and took this loose. It was oriented like up on top like that, but I was able to get to it there. Now this part attaches to the tank right here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it off of this filler neck, and I'm going to put a plug of something in here just to keep that fuel from spilling out while I'm lowering and moving this. But the thing is, you know, you want to make sure that you got something on there that's going to seal it off. So I'm going to put something back in here, and then I'm going to put this clamp back on it so I don't have to worry about any fuel coming out of there. You can see this filler neck this is metal, and it runs up through here all the way up and out to where you would normally fill it out there. So this part here is bolted down. I don't want to remove that, but I'm going to remove it right here and just plug it off. So I'm going to get me a pry bar and push the rest of that hose off right there. Okay, so I was using my longest pry bar and kind of getting back here pushing on it, and I was using a lot of spray lubricant and finally got it to push off there, but it was not easy. The other thing we got is this this air return line or whatever. We got to get that disconnected. It just has a clip that we got to push down there, and just give it a push on the top side. You push down, if you can see it there, you push down on the top like a little button with your finger, and you give that a push back. So sometimes you have to push it towards like this to get it to unlock, but you just give that a push down on top there, and that will unlock and pull back, and that's the last thing connecting. Okay, with that line there, I found it easier to get up on top with my curved pick tool and pull down while I pushed it off there. So we got that loose now. We need to get something in the end of my pipe. We're going to go ahead and start lowering the the tank here. Okay, I just grabbed the first thing that would actually fit, which is an old bottle of fingernail polish actually, and I just snugged that down in there because that'll keep anything from pouring out. So we're going to get over and get to work on these straps now. Okay, so just to show you what the plan is here, we come right here, you can see the straps, how they're on a hinge there. You can see those, the two straps, they run up there to that 13mm bolt. They're on a hinge. Now, what the plan is, we're going to start lowering it. I've got a mover's dolly. I'm going to get back here actually. I'm going to position this mover's dolly right under here, and we're just going to start setting it down on here. Now, the unknown here is this exhaust. I don't know how much trouble this exhaust is going to want to give me, considering it's right here on top of this strap. Now, I can tell you that removing this exhaust would be just short of disassembling the axle in half the car, it looks like, because this is all welded together. The only place it separates is up there at that junction. It does not look like it would be easy to remove this exhaust to me without removing a lot of things on this subframe, so I don't want to do that if I can avoid it. But that's the unknown. However, like I said, everything at the exhaust is kind of right over the top of it here. So we're going to kind of play this by ear. I'm going to start lowering it, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to kind of get this side to drop down, and then maybe just work this out of this end. But we're going to be slowly taking these bolts out, and we're going to position it over my mover's dolly, and we'll just roll it out of here if everything goes according to plan. Okay, so the mover's dolly in place, ready to take our 13 here, and we're going to start lowering this thing down. Like I said, we got quite a bit of weight on it, so I'm going to have to cautiously lower this, and I may have to help it out, but I know it's going to weigh at least about 60 pounds, but I don't have far to go before it's going to drop down onto this. So we're just going to ease it down here. Now if you needed to, you could use your jack, kind of slowly lower it. You'll put a board under there and do it that way as well. Okay, so the band on this end is loose. We're going to work on the band on this side. So we just got the one more. Okay, so I got the band loose on this side, so I'm going to slowly start helping to lower this down by hand and see if I can't wiggle it out. You can see my strap hits on that side on the exhaust and it can't go any lower, so I'm going to hope this is going to work. Like I said, when I put it back in, I'm not going to have any fuel in the tank, so it's going to be a lot easier if I can just get it out this way. Okay, one of the things I can tell already is that this strap is hitting on this axle piece that runs across through here, so it's going to have to come out sideways. Now the problem is that it's still hung on that strap that's on the exhaust, so I'm going to need to work on that. Now I can move this exhaust around a little bit if need be, but it's going to make it a lot more work, so I'm going to think on this a second and see what we can do. But I've got it loose, it's completely loose, but it's stopping because of this strap hitting on the exhaust. And of course this won't go any lower, so I can't just drop it down at an angle here, or I could, you know, come out at an angle this way, but this piece hits on that right there. So we're gonna think on this a second. Okay, so far I guess I haven't figured out the trick. I twisted this strap just kind of over out of the way, but the problem is it's still on top of this exhaust, and even though I push that strap over, it's still sitting on top of the exhaust. So I'm having to slide it like out this way. Now the other problem is I've got a lot of connections in here that I'm having to get, so I'm having to come in here and disconnect everything that's connected. All these connectors and stuff have to be disconnected before I can pull this out this way. And doesn't seem to really be any other way of getting to this that I know of without removing exhaust and a lot more things. So I'm just going to try to continue. I'm going to try to get all these connectors disconnected here and see if I can't simply slide it out this way here now. Okay, so the two connectors going to the pump itself, this wire I have put back over here, and I disconnected that. I think the other one simply runs back to the tank itself and doesn't need disconnecting. So we're going to try to continue on sliding it out this way. Like I said, if the worst is my strap gets twisted, getting this out of here, I don't care. I can always twist that back. But I don't really know how else to get it to clear this. I'm going to continue on, just slide it out this way now. Okay, so I come up under this side behind the muffler. I just finished shoving it out of that strap down onto my dolly. So everything's clear. It wasn't too bad. So anyways, if this strap bolted on both sides, it'd be much easier to get that out of the way. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and just finish pushing it out through that other side over there. Okay, now I did wind up having to come up a little bit higher here in order to get this out properly. Now it may have even helped getting this strap out of here Surprisingly, this was not as heavy as I thought it would be. I've got but I'm trying to get clearance to get it out from under here, and I had to go up. Just wasn't high enough to bring it up out through here, but it rolls out of here nice and easy. But some of these connectors I didn't have to worry about anyway. This one here I had to get loose. It's kind of difficult to see, but this whole thing like slides up and off here. It's like a V shape, so you could push that up to get easier access to it. But this will go back down in there. Kind of just slips back down in there. But anyways, this is your tank, fuel pump. Luckily I didn't break anything, that's always good. Your insulators that when it bolts up or straps up. So before we can do anything, we are going to have to get out here and pull it out here a little farther so you can see. We're going to have to get it out here and clean it up before we do anything. We sure don't want. I'm probably not going to use any of the fuel back in here. It'll probably become lawnmower fuel or something, but because you never know, some dirt, debris, water, whatever, I'm just going to clean it all out, start back with some new fuel. So anyway, we're going to get this out here basically and get it cleaned up. This gives you a good look at everything. So the canister over here with the lines running into that, but this is how you get access to it. And if somebody can figure out a way to get it out without bending that strap, it's fine. But those straps are tough. I'll just twist it back around and bolt it up. Anyways, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to clean it up. We'll get it in the garage here and work on getting this pump off and getting this fuel out. Okay, so here we are. We got it cleaned up a little bit. I'll say you want to get this as clean as possible. You know, soap it up, rinse it off. Just get it as clean as you possibly can before you go to even thinking about removing this. So we've got it cleaned up pretty good. Also took my air hose and blowed it off. And try not to lose your little insulators. You'll have to re-glue them. But we've got it about as clean as we're probably going to get it here. And so at this point we're going to go ahead and start working this out and get our other pump on here. Like I said, we're going to have to clean the fuel out, and we're going to get clean fuel and everything back in here. We're going to start off with a clean tank. Depending on what it looks like, I may or may not wash it out. You know, I have soaped them up and cleaned them out before when they've had debris. We'll just see what it looks like once we get in here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get this clip off. Now push up and then just squeeze in, and that should come right off there. Now I took the time to put a little paint mark here. I want this to go back exactly the way it is. Of course, it's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to push in right here. So sometimes you have to give them a push down. So there we have that. We'll stick that back out of the way. Okay, now they probably got a fancy tool for removing this, but what I've got is my screwdriver, rubber mallet. All we're going to do is hit it at these notches. So we're going to you can see it moving. almost, okay, so right there we got it. If you can see, once you get it to that point, you turn it counterclockwise, it comes right off of there. See how those just lock in there. So when you set it back on, you'll see these just lock, and it gets around here, locks it into place. So when it goes on, it just slips over those, and then to put it back on, just hit it and knock it back around, make sure they're all down, and then that little notch is going to knock all the way back around there till it locks it in. And so that's all it is. It slips right off there. Now, as I expect, most of these, you know, you can't put it on wrong. See how it's got where the locator is right here. So one thing I'm going to do before I go to lift this up, I want to give it one quick wipe down with a clean rag here. Okay, so we're just getting ready to take this out of here. So you see how it has that part that fits right in there, so there's really no confusion. It's going to have a lot of gas dumping out of it, so we have to be careful getting it out of here without making a big mess. And we're going to try to okay, so there we have that out. Said it really looks pretty clean in there. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's so clean. So I'm not seeing any debris down in the tank or anything like I expected. Okay, now I've just carefully cleaned around this surface with a little clean paper towel and cleaned this O-ring up. Just kind of placed it back down there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get a manual pump, and we're going to pump the rest of this fuel out into a container, and it's just going to make it much easier putting back in, plus we're going to get some fresh clean fuel in it. Okay, we got a transfer pump. It'll tell you on here, you just put these tubes in here. This is like $7 at Harbor Freight, and it'll tell you which one's going out, which one's going in. So we're just going to take and start. We got the one end in our tank over there. We're just going to start filling it up. And this actually will start moving quite a bit of fluid, oil, gas, whatever. And it moves in a hurry. What I've found though is they don't hold up long. They are cheap, so you can always just buy you another one, but it gets the job done. So this is just an ordinary transfer pump. So one tube going out, one tube that's coming in, just hand pump. We're just going to completely empty out this tank into that jug there. Okay, as you can see, we got it cleaned out. Now it's nice and light. We're going to go ahead at this point and get the new pump on here. Okay, you can see this is the old pump here. It looks actually pretty good, but it's just not doing its job. So we'll make sure this is nice and clean. I'm going to go ahead and start setting this down into place. But you can tell they're, you know, the exact same. Okay, so we're just getting ready to set this pump back in. Be careful and work that float in there. And all we got to do is get this back into place. Okay. And because of those springs, you have to give it a little push down there. Okay, so now we've got our taller. It's going to go, I got a mark on here as to where it was before that you can see right here, so I know it's going to be in the same location. The main thing, making sure that it's under each one of these. Okay. So now, while we're trying to hold that in place, we're going to kind of knock this around a little bit here. Okay, so I've got my big long screwdriver. I'm just going to tap this with a hammer. And we got to hit it till it gets locked in good. We'll just kind of work our way around. A little more. Okay, I had to get my knee on it to keep it from moving. You can see how I've got it locked into that notch. It's back on my mark. So I know that it's locked into place here. So now we can go ahead and reattach this one right here. And then we've got this. This snaps right back on there. So now we can go ahead at this point, start working it back into the vehicle. Just to give you another view of it. Says there's really not much to this other than getting those wire connectors off of here and the one right here. Like I said, this other stuff disconnects at this point. Everything else stays on until you get it out, you know, disconnecting the filler neck up there at those points, not a big deal. And I can take that thing out up there if I wanted to. There's no danger of anything spilling. Of course, it will keep any dust and dirt out of here. So it's nice and light now. I can lift this thing, move it anywhere I want. There's no fuel in it, so it's going to be no problem working this back in. Okay, so I've got it wheeled back into position here, and I'm just going to work. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect what connectors I have and put them back into their spots. And we're going to go ahead and start lifting on that end right over there. Lift it up over into place. This is going to go in very easily. The with no weight on it. It should be really simple to go ahead and just lift this back into place. But I'm going to make the connections that I've got. Let's see, I've got these two, and I got this one that connects down here. So I'm going to go ahead and reconnect these. Okay, something I feel kind of silly about, I didn't realize till now, these actually just lift out of there. Once they're loose, you can lift it up. As you can see, there's a slot right there. So you lift it down past that and up over, and it'll actually pop out of here. See how it is right here? I can angle this, and I should be able to get it to pop out of here like I did that other side. Just like that. So there's no need for me to go through all that trouble like I did before. But this side I'm going to go ahead and just put in place. It's going to make it easier for rehanging this. So I'm going to get that back in there. Okay, so I had that strap on it there. I'm just slipping it up in there at an angle. I got those connected. And the hardest one is this connector that goes right down here. It's like a really short connector, and it connects right down there, and it's kind of upside down. The part that actually clips is on the underneath side, so it'd probably be easier to have this off to make that connection and then slip it back on, but I don't know. It's just it's a really short wire. It's like 2 inches long. It's hard to get down in there to make that connection, and you don't have a lot of length here. So I had to take one of these clips loose to get a little bit more slack. So, but I've got that connected. I've got the safety lock pushed on that. So I'm getting ready to just lift this side up. I'm going to work that band over there back up into place, and then we'll start making some of these other connections. But once I figured out those straps, I mean, it would have been really simple earlier, but I didn't realize that they slipped out of there like they did. Okay, now that one strap will hold this side here until I can get the other one into place. And I'm going to go ahead and make these connections here as well. Now another thing is I made sure that the filler neck was back over the top of there and that other little tube. So I'm going to make these connections right here, and we're going to go ahead and work on getting that last strap into place. Get this oriented the right way. So we're going to get this back onto here. Now we also got that little safety latch that goes on there as well. It's going to go back over this part right here. But the main thing is to make sure that we've got it latched on there all the way. You can hear it click. And the one down there, once you push the red lock down, when it's pushed into place, you won't be able to move that. So I'm going to get that other little lock. I'm going to put it back on here. See, now this one doesn't have to come completely off, but it just usually comes all the way off when I remove it. And that locks that in from coming loose. So I'm going to go ahead and work on getting this other band. Now I just took my pliers and straightened this thing back up while I had it out here. Okay, the straps really aren't that bad once you get the hang of those. They pretty much slip right into place. But I've got the tank where I need it, so we're going to go ahead and work on getting these straps bolted up. I've got my 13 millimeter here. I'm going to get over here on this other side and work on these. Okay, well I got the one band started. Now I found it helpful to use my legs to kind of push this up, so it's not much weight, but it just kind of helps shift it into position. Okay, so we got those bands tightened down nice and tight. Now they're going to go, as long as you have them back into the place that they were at before, then everything should be in the right spot. And so it just goes right back into the space that it was setting in before. And then just lock it down nice and tight. So the only other thing that we've got left to connect, besides putting our little pieces, under shroud pieces and stuff back on here, just getting our filler neck here reattached, and this little line right here, which is nothing to this one. It'll just snap on there. But just make sure that it does lock on there nice and tight. So I'm going to go ahead and get this reattached to my filler neck here next, get that snug down. And then other than that, we'll be about all finished up. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll work on putting these pieces back in here, these under protective pieces under here. Okay, so we're just going to get this piece back in place here. Just got those little plastic 10 millimeters. Okay, so we're just getting this piece back in, getting all the little plastic. So a lot of these are bent and everything under here, but we're getting this locked back down. We're going to get some fuel in it and get it tested out here. Okay, I'm just going to get some clean fuel in here, and we're going to make sure that, you know, we don't want to get too much until we've made sure. I'm just going to add about a gallon or so just to make sure everything's going to be working right. If we do have to remove it again, we don't want a lot of fuel in there. Okay, so we do got it cranked up and running. I got a little bit of squilling with my belts there. I guess they got wet, but we do have it working and everything, so that's all good. Alright, so that's going to do it for this video on replacing the fuel pump. Said other than just getting it down off my blocks and jack stands and everything, I'm all finished up. So said I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for watching.